I'm Beth Ann.
What's up? I'm Ayla.
This is Let's Talk BL, a boys love podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. It is Sunday Series Sunday, that one day of the week when we talk all things one series and one series only. So if you have not watched this series, in this case, I do recommend turning away and watching it before you go on, because there are some intense spoilers in this series that I feel like if I had gotten spoiled ahead of time, I would have been highly annoyed.
Right.
So this is also a late in the day series Sunday because this series literally wrapped up earlier today. The finale episode ran and we watched it and we collected our feelings and our thoughts, and now we're here.
Collected all the feelings.
So today we are talking about Remember Me.
This is definitely a show to remember.
I remember this show. I remember this show very intensely. And I remembered this show from week to week. And I feel like I'll remember this show in my heart for the rest of my life. There are some moments in this show that, oh my God.
Going into this show, I had an idea of what we were getting because it is from the same company that did the yearbook. And if you have not watched the yearbook, highly recommend. There's a movie version on YouTube, which makes it a little easier because, yeah, these series are more like heartfelt, emotional, life lesson kind of stories. And those are the kinds that are more enjoyable in movie form.
Right.
And so we talked about this earlier, that this is definitely one that you'll kind of want to pace yourself with. It's not really a binger because it is 14 episodes.
Yeah. In fact, I guess we need to get in the nuts and the bolts, but I will say, if you're about to turn away because you haven't watched this yet and you don't want to get spoiled, I'm a binger. I talk about this a lot. I actually don't love watching shows while they're live. I prefer to binge. Right. I was just saying that, like, this show, I don't think I would have liked as a binge. I feel like the structure of this show and the nature of these characters, taking it week to week actually made the story, like, better in a way than if I had binged it. So I'm not saying don't binge it, but I'm saying maybe give yourself like an hour between episodes. Like give yourself that like semi
maybe watch
experience.
One a day.
Yeah, like give yourself kind of the break experience between them, because I do think it adds to it.
Yes, for sure. Okay, the nuts and bolts. It is 14 episodes. It's on Gaga Ooh La La. It was done by the same company called Ultimate Troop, who did the yearbook. Again, go watch the yearbook. It's so good. The characters are Golf, who's played by Ja, Gun/Corn, played by First, Champ, played by Title. Oh my God. M, played by Man, and then No Name/Name, played by Little,
who we find out later has a real name, but like we never get to know it.
And I will say there's something to be said. I wrote this list without like looking up the character names or the actor names, and I was like, oh my gosh, like these characters made such an impression on me.
I remembered every single one.
I remembered all of them.
Okay, synopsis time. Are you still able to recall those nostalgic days when you'd anxiously anticipate that much-awaited reply from the one you loved? Handwritten letters, MSN Messenger, BlackBerry, Line. Even though times have changed, messages have always allowed us to convey our feelings of love. But while communication helps bring us closer, does it also somehow deepen the distance between our hearts? That's a good synopsis for this show, because, and I love that they point out the one that you love, not necessarily like romantic love, because we had a lot of instances of just love in this show. You had romantic love for sure. You had family love. You had platonic love, right? Like friend between love, the characters. Yeah. Like there were so many just instances of love in this show. It's like, it's relationships. Like this show is interestingly like, it's heavy, but it's light at the same time. Right. I mean, I loved this show.
It's just really, it's highly relatable because I mean, everyone loves, like, speaking of, you know, tropes, I think everyone loves like a retro look back in time, revisiting, like, especially the technology, right? Like the technology marks this show, I think, the most. Besides,
that's how you know where they are in time.
Yeah,
right.
And so it's fun to see that marking of time over the years. As someone who has lived in a time before, like when we wrote letters to each other in school, and then you move to instant messenger, and then to texting, and then to like FaceTime or Skype or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was interesting. The only part of this that like I didn't myself experience is I always had, like when I was a kid, AOL Instant Messenger was a thing. Like this whole like handwritten, and we had email. Like this whole handwritten letter thing was like not of my personal, like of my generation.
Even in like elementary or middle school, you didn't write letters because we weren't allowed cell phones in school.
No.
So we all
had AIM, and it was like a whole thing with your like away message and all your stuff.
No, but like in school, like when you were in school, if you had a friend in a different class.
Even now people pass notes, but not in the way that they used letters in this show.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't like pass notes. Yeah. Right. Like
like in the show it was like set up as like a pen pal, right? Like it was like a whole program thing.
Yeah, I mean we would like pass notes, but no, even when I was a kid, like in elementary school I had a cell phone. Yeah.
This was just such a fun. It would be interesting to see how different generations relate to stuff like this.
Yeah, but like there's a scene where like Gun/Corn. I think at this point we're back to Corn, right? Yeah. Or no, we're back to Gun. I think we're back to Gun. We're back to his real life at this point. No, we're still Corn.
Okay.
I don't remember. Anyways, he's gotten a BlackBerry, and this comment is made about like, oh, you have a BlackBerry, like you're so cool, like you're so hip, you're so trendy. And I remember when like BlackBerries were like the thing.
Same. It was my first smartphone.
Specifically, like for me and my generation, it was like if you had a sidekick, a T-Mobile sidekick, and it was only available on T-Mobile, and it was like because that was the first phone that like really had internet where you could like be on AOL, right? Because AIM was like back in my generation when I was like late middle school, early high school, like that was the way that you communicated was AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah,
and the sidekick was the first one where you could like AOL Instant Messenger was on the phone. And so like I remember it was a thing where like if somebody had a sidekick, you were like, oh my god, they have but I do remember people getting BlackBerries. And then I remember the whole like the Razor craze.
Oh yeah,
I remember the Razor craze.
Right.
So yeah, like I just thought that was like a fun little thing because I was like that's so like relatable and funny. It's like I remember being a freshman in high school, which is when the Razor craze happened. And like one of my friends got a pink Razor, and everybody was like, oh my god, Cammy is like the coolest.
I love that their name was Cammy.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Yeah. Even to this day, they try to bring back certain technology, and I think like the iPhone is king at this point, and then of course some Android phones, but as much as like it's fun and nostalgic to bring back those other, I don't imagine they'll ever really like make a resurgence.
Right. I mean, who knows? Them. Yeah. But so going back to the show, I guess we can't really go couple by couple. We can.
Let's go characters by character.
We have to go character by character because they're all a friend group. Right. Like it's so difficult.
So let's start with Man and Little. M and No Name. Oh my gosh.
M and No Name / Name.
They were such interesting because their whole story was developed as friends, and the focus, a lot of it was on No Name because he was mute.
He's mute.
He was selective mute for most of this show
as a trauma response.
Yeah.
And I will say the feelings that Name went through, I hands down credit to Little because the things this boy made me feel without ever saying one word.
I mean,
without saying one word. I go on tangents about people acting with their eyes, right? Like, this is my favorite thing. This is my favorite acting technique, right? Like, and
he just like acted with his whole being
of acting, like expressing emotions without words. Like
a masterclass.
I cried for the first time I cried for him was when M goes to college and M gets on that bus. I'm like ugly sobbing. I was like, get off the bus. I'm like screaming at the TV, just like yelling, get off the bus, get off the bus. I was like ugly sobbing. And it was all because Name was just standing there looking at the bus. And I could feel what he was feeling.
And it's the first time he speaks. He says
M. Yeah, he says M. And I I went through it that episode. Like, I thought, and then also they like start hinting that Champ's grandpa's gonna die, and I was like, oh
How
no,
dare.
oh no.
So many things. Yeah, these friends like really went through it. Yeah, their development was very sweet because they were just like good friends. They're those friends that like are close friends for a while and then they kind of like grow apart because they're in separate locations for a while because Name stays home and M goes off to
Right.
college. And then we have a crisis where Name's mom has a medical moment who No Name's mom truly is an incredible actress. Like she got a whole
She
scene.
is a beautiful actress, like in her art.
Yeah, she had a whole scene. And I like this show because rarely we get a lot from the adults in BLs.
Like,
And this show, I really enjoyed the moments with adults because it spoke to the characters themselves. Like I felt like I was getting more depth to the characters I wanted to see and know
because I understood their family
through kind of like in real life when you meet someone's family you're like oh my gosh they make so much more sense. And so I feel like that's really what's missing a lot of time in BL is that we're not getting depth of characters because we don't see the people who made them who they are.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see that in this show specifically because there's a ton of emotion and there's a ton of depth behind who these characters are. So then when you have this moment where No Name's mom has a medical emergency and then M shows up and he's with him and he's helping him through it. And through the whole thing, they're just good friends. Like
no, it wasn't romantic. I will say that was the one thing about their relationship is in the finale episode when it was made clear that it's become romantic.
Very clear.
I was really confused. Because I genuinely went into this being like, I kind of like that they just end as friends, that this was not romantic. Like, I kind of like it. Like, I thought it would have been nice to show like 3 different types of love based on the 3 different pairings, right? Like, I just thought it would have been like, I don't have a problem with it being romantic. I was just confused more than anything else because I felt like, I was like, when did this turn romantic? It was so platonic and so platonic and so platonic. And then it was romantic in like a weirdly cheesy way.
Right.
Like it was sweet. It was very sweet, but I was so confused. I was like, at first I was like, oh, it's romantic. And I was like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes. Oh, yes, it is. Like
I feel like this kind of love exists because I do know a couple of people who have like been friends for a good time. And then at some point they're like, I think I like you. And they're like, I think I like you too.
It happens. But I was like, as a viewer, I was like, it seemed like we skipped ahead.
Yes. It's rare to see in entertainment because it's not dramatic. It's not big. It's not,
well, but even then, even in the real life scenarios, you wouldn't go from like 0 to kissing on the mouth, right? Like you would have a conversation, you would slowly like you would see one person realizing it, right? Like you don't go from just friends slowly, seriously, and like just out of nowhere all of a sudden, right? Like that doesn't happen in real life. So that's what I feel like, because I feel like with even the time jumps, and everybody knows I hate time jumps. They did a really good job with making me feel like I understood how the characters got from point A to point B. Here they did not. This is my criticism, is here there was we went from 0 to making out by the river, right? Like we went from we're just friends and like very clearly platonic friends to kissing on the mouth and like I give all the rest of my life to you. Right? Like
which was a thing that happened across couples in the show, because the same thing happened with Golf and Gun,
except that they had broken up. Like they were in a relationship. Like they
no when they first get together in that room where he's like, oh, you're my pen pal, it's like where they're like,
well, but even then that made more sense, and here's why. Because we know Gun had a crush on Golf all those years, right? And that's why. So we see him get to that place. And then you see Golf develop feelings for Gun without knowing he was the pen pal. And so then once it became clear that like, oh, this is the person that I've been waiting for, and it's a person that I'm starting to develop feelings for, this has all come together, right? So even then it made sense. It wasn't really 0 to 100.
The only thing I think that would make sense would be if Name and M had moments in their life that of course we don't see, where they're like, oh, he wouldn't do that for me if he didn't like me.
But
and
that's
so
what
maybe
I'm saying,
like
as a viewer, we
right,
didn't get that. So that
you just
versus
kind of
like
have to assume
versus everything else in the show,
Right.
they do a good job of like
Yeah.
as a viewer taking you there, right? Like that's my criticism with them.
And then it's just sweet because they do end up opening a coffee shop together in their hometown.
Yes, the flashback. Okay, I will say we end on Name's birthday, and they all show up and they have the cake. I started crying when
Yeah.
he closed his eyes and he opened them back up, and because I thought we were going to time jump ahead to the future immediately.
Yes.
But we time jumped back to when we were kids, and
Oh,
I'm just like going through it over the like. I felt like these were like my childhood friends. Like I felt like they had pulled me so deep into the story and these relationships and these characters that I got nostalgic watching them as kids.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so sweet getting to see my friends as kids. Like that's how I felt. Like they just did such a good job with this show. With like making me feel like I knew them.
This is a great case in point that like the romance is great, but I just enjoy watching these friends. Like I was invested in the friend group more so than the individual relationship.
I was invested in the people, which
individual
for me
people,
as a viewer, I need to know why I should care about whether or not you're in love.
Right.
And so like that's why I have a hard time with some of the other, I would call them surface level storylines, like story writing, because like sure, like two pretty people kissing is great, but like why should I care?
Right.
I could see two pretty people kissing anywhere, right? Like,
right.
And so I'm like, why should I care that these two pretty people are kissing?
Yeah.
And so like for me,
if you're not invested in the actors themselves, you need more depth to characters.
I need to know why I should care about these characters. And so for me, the development of the characters is almost better than like Spice for me personally. Like I don't have a problem with Spice, but like even, I mean, they do both, and not to be that person, but in Gen Y, they do both. But the beginning of like, will they, won't they, like it's not actually spicy with the like Bank Australian, which by the way is so toxic. We do not hold this up as like a pinnacle of love and respect.
No.
Absolutely freaking not.
But it made sense for those characters though.
Them like not was way better because then it made the payoff like so much more like worth it when they finally at the very end of that series, spoilers for Gen Y if you haven't watched it, when at the very end of Gen Y 2 they kiss, like it's such a simple like they kiss, and all of these like you've watched at this point years of them not, it makes that payoff so much better. But even like before the first time they hook up, because it's been so much like don't touch me, like I'm not in, right, like
don't kiss me, I'm not allowed, I'm only gonna kiss my like first love.
The implication I guess is what I tend to be invested in. I almost like more. And so like I had absolutely no problem with the Spice level in this. Like it kind of became like a discussion factor that they did to themselves.
Yes. A lot of BL creators at this point, or directors, are doing this whole thing where we're getting to this place in BL where either your show is super spicy or it's super wholesome, and they like know that there is a good group of people who like the spice, but I think they're missing the point that like there's more to the BL fandom than just the people who like the spice, and the people who like the spice also like heartfelt depth, character developing storylines. That like sure sex sells, but it's not the only thing people are buying.
But so like this conversation came up because Ultimate Troop kind of like made it a conversation point.
They were like don't watch this show thinking you're gonna see banging.
You're not gonna see sex. You're not gonna see NC scenes.
And maybe that's to the point where like Ja first came from Don't Say No, and maybe people were expecting that from them, but also I wasn't expecting that from them. I just want to see Ja first act in a show.
It's a different project. Is it like I'm not gonna pigeonhole them like that as a Ja first fan.
And so let's go to Ja first. Gulf and Gun, they were magic. Gulf and Gun are magic because and Ja first are magic because it's one of those things where you're watching these two characters and they like they're interacting from a distance because they're pen pals for most of this show, and then you finally get them together in college, and Gunn is playing coy because he's nervous because
No, he's not playing coy. He's just going through something.
It's true.
Like, no. This boy isn't playing coy. Like he is
He's-
in zero control of this situation.
He's like terrified.
He literally says
the love of his life.
he says not his own name, not because he's like trying to play it cool, but because he like forgot his own name in that moment, which like low key relatable. If Ja, like we're talking about Ja here, so like low key relatable, but like no, he wasn't playing coy. This boy was like
He's
going through something.
Yeah.
Like he literally forgot how to think and breathe and speak.
God. I mean,
like
relatable.
Yeah, relatable.
And so finally, when Gulf and Gunn interact and get together, you're like, Ja first. That is the Ja first magic. That is the first magic and the Ja magic coming
these
together.
two together.
And it wasn't even romantic when they first become
not when they become friends. Yeah.
And so it's just so sweet. And then when they finally do get together, it's definitely another 0 to 100.
Right, but it's not like, 0 to 100 because they've known each other their whole lives,
yes.
right? Like,
but not romantically, because then romantically they're like, let's move in together,
right?
Which honestly, the development for them made sense because yes, they had that whole character backstory. Like they knew each other, they knew each other
even
intimately.
if they didn't know who it was. Now that they do, they realize they've known each other their whole lives. I did love Corn/Gunn is so relatable this whole series because like all the way even like up into college he is just like he cannot get it together in front of Golf. He cannot. And like honestly, the first time we ever talked to John first, I had a full mental breakdown because of Ja. Like I was, before we even got on, I was like shaking and I was like really, so I was like I felt myself in that moment. And like now we're very lucky to have interacted with John for like quite a few more times.
Yeah.
And Ja is just a very, very sweet boy. And he's just like, there was no reason for me to have those feelings, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I really love this character for Ja too, because when we interviewed them about this show and Ja was like, we asked them to describe their character in one word, and Ja was like, what did he say? He was like, he's very like assertive, or he's very like
straightforward or something like that.
And I was like, thank God, because
you even made a comment to him. You were like, so not like Leo, or no, you were like, oh, so it's a different character for you, and he was like, yeah,
because I would say this is probably more true to who Ja is as a person. Like he's very honest. We see it in like kind of his interactions with First, just like in the shipwork stuff.
Like he's funny and sweet. If you're a Dome Jew and you pay attention to
like
Ja
he like definitely is like a kidder. Like he jabs at people a little bit, and so it's fun to see this character who, when he finally learns in the scene that Gunn is Mr. 8, he's like, I love this boy. I want to be with this boy. And he just does it. He like makes it happen. And you're like, oh my, we don't even have to like go to another scene. We fully get them getting together. Yeah. The realization, everything happens. Like the pacing is like on it. He's perfect.
It's perfect. Like, everything about it is perfect. I love them getting together. I did think it was funny that even all the way up until the last episode, we stuck Ja in the wig and we kept Ja in the wig. Everyone knows I love Ja in the wig.
The wig,
Ja in the wig. And I love that he kept the wig all the way up until the last episode. I mean, the man committed.
I hope that Ja has a wig in a box.
I hope that at some point, I hope we track down the wig from until we meet again. And I hope that he got to keep the wig from Remember Me, and he just starts like a wig collection.
It has like a plate.
How, like art, like famous actors will have like props from their movies.
It's just his wigs.
Yeah, I truly hope this for Ja, because Ja in a wig is my favorite. It's my favorite BL trope. Yeah. One of my favorite BL tropes is Ja in a wig. Speaking of wigs, it must be mentioned. Clearly, there was like a 2-for-1 sale at Don Don Donkey for these like freaking wigs. Because number one, I will say it was reparations to the BL community that Mean was in a wig, a terrible wig, the whole time. And it wasn't until the very last episode that we've given Mean a good haircut. And I think it's because potentially we were like, oh, he's made amends for his mistakes. And so now he can have a good haircut. But like, no, you didn't, Mean. Loki, no, you didn't. No. Although, the problem is Mean is so cute. But cuteness does not excuse bad behavior. Yes. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, it's so funny. Some of my favorite scenes as we wrap up talking about Gulf and Golf and Gunn, Lord have mercy, their couple name is aggressive, was Gunn meeting with his sweet little gay friends who are getting married, and the great conversations that we're going to see more and more of in these BLs where they're talking about we can't get legally married. It would be great if we could. The marriage equality conversation, incredibly important in these shows, and I really love those moments. And then the very, 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 very end of the show, where you see they've come out to their friends and they're like,
right. So at the very end of the finale episode, there's like a director's cut. If you didn't keep watching, go back and rewatch it. And so we get a scene back when they're in college and they've like told their friends they're dating. Yeah.
And it's a very sweet moment of, yeah, cool, whatever. We're just glad that you're happy. And I love those moments of context for you when you get into a relationship, like you are in your own bubble, but you're not, but also there's implications for how you exist in society. And so it's nice to see those moments. We're getting there a lot in BLs where the friends and family are cool with it, but there's a recognition that society is still taking some
what I really liked about this whole conversation in the show is that in the same director's cut, when Golf and Gunn are talking about it, Golf says, well, it's 2012 right now. We'll see where we are 10 years from now. And it was such there were so many feelings that I had when he said that, because I realized, I was like, wow, yeah, like 10 years later
should be enough time.
In Thailand, they still do not have marriage equality.
No.
Like this still, and
they
so
have like a baby step.
If you're like thinking of Golf and Gunn as these characters that have lived on, and in my heart and in my mind when I was seeing them, and I'm like, okay, wow, yeah, 10 years later and they still can't get married. Like it's a bummer. Like it's a bummer. Like it makes me so sad, and it just shows you how important, because like, are we still going to be saying that now, right? Like new couples now are like, we don't have it now, but we'll see where we are in 10 years.
Yeah,
like that's unacceptable for them to still, right? Like how many 10 years have to pass? And again, it's not my culture, it's not my government, it's not my right. So like all I can do is encourage and support, and like
it takes time.
And so I really loved that, because it was like a very poignant, like it makes you realize, like really realize in terms of like time,
and just how important the conversation is to keep having and to put it in this kind of media.
And another thing about Golf and Gunn at the end that I really liked is that they had planned to like go off to America so that they could get married in America and like live their lives in America. And then I liked that at the end when we find out that sweet name has written this all into a book. And he's talking about Golf and Gunn. I might actually cry.
It was so good.
He's talking about Golf and Gunn, and he's like, they didn't end up going to America or getting married. They stayed at home so they could see their parents, and they lived their lives, but they made these promises to each other. And I actually liked that they didn't have the fairy tale. They got to go off and get married and do their thing, because it was real, right? Like it's so real of like all these plans that we make, and then like, sure, you don't always get to move to a different country. You don't always like those things you want to do, you don't get to do all the time, but you still like your life goes on and you can still be happy. So I actually did really like that part of it too. Like it felt like these were real people. That's what struck me the most about this show the whole time. These felt like real people.
Yeah. And again, the parents of both boys in this instance were wonderful. We get some really sweet moments between Gunn and his parents, and just like the acceptance where Gunn is unsure that his dad's going to be okay with this, but it turns out like he just really wants the best for his son, and he's really proud of who he is. And then we have the ultimate shipping father of all fathers.
Golf's dad is a dome Jew. Golf's dad is a dome Jew.
In his home,
I am obsessed with Golf's dad being like Golf and Gunn, like forever. Golf's dad is a dome Jew. We can all relate to Golf's dad.
The best moment. Okay. The last character in this group of friends,
Champ.
Freaking Champ.
There are no words.
Cried so much in this show for Champ.
There are no words.
Title. Sorry, first. Your Oscar moment has passed. Title now gets the Oscar.
Title deserves an Oscar, a Golden Globe, an Academy Award. He deserves an EGOT. He deserves a Golden Disc Award. He deserves a Kaz Award. Name an award, and give it to Title. Truly. Oh my God. Champ. I honestly, I was like, the next time that I see Title, something weird is gonna happen in my body where like I'm gonna like giggle and sob and choke like all at the same time because I just have so many feelings for Champ. Not even about Champ, but like for Champ.
And here's the thing about
oh my god.
Here's the thing about a character like this is that usually I'm highly annoyed of characters like this because you're like, oh my god,
Stop crying.
Yeah, stop crying, or like there's nothing really dramatic happening. Like you're dealing with life things, right? Like grandparents die, and you deal with
that
like
was his best friend. How dare
I
you?
know, but like you deal with loneliness from like going away to college. You deal with, you know, like these are life things that you deal with. Like it.
But I love what's so real about it is that like not everyone deals with it the same.
Yes, and so that's I think what was endearing about how Title played Champ was that like you understand that like he doesn't know any better. Like he wasn't given the tools. He's grown up with his family. He's always been around these friends. Like he's now gone off to college, so he never had to do these things.
Well, and you also like you can't downplay the way that someone feels, even if it's not a healthy way to feel.
Right.
Like that's how he feels, and sometimes we just feel those ways, right? Like sometimes we just feel that way, and it's not wrong to feel that way.
No.
It's not, you're not like less of a well-adjusted person.
Right.
Like nobody's better than you because you feel that way, right? Like
yeah.
those are your feelings, and those feelings are valid. And yeah, like some people roll with it and it's like the best 4 years of their lives and whatever, and then some people really struggle with it, and one is not better than the other.
No, it's definitely your response to the situation that you're in. And sweet little Champ, he just like kept getting hit one right after the other.
Truly, talk about kick a man when he's down. Oh my god. Now and he also made me feel for Champ without a ton of dialogue.
Yeah.
Because so often he was by himself and he wasn't like monologuing. So you just had to kind of understand what he was going through. Like, right? Like Title had to make you feel what Champ was feeling. And I truly think he did such an amazing job. And like when they're on the bus back home and or back to school from home.
Right.
And his grandfather's in the hospital, but he has to go back for finals.
Yeah.
And he just starts crying on the bus. I was like, oh my god. Like I've been that person that just starts crying in public because it's just like too much. And like there's a whole other layer to it. And it's like, he made me feel that so deep. Like, oh my god, this boy. And then his grandpa dies. And then like, God, his dog dies, and then his friends start laying all their problems on him, and he's worried about his friend group to the point where like they've driven him to smoke. He's taken up tobacco. That was one of my favorite moments. Was when Name goes, pretty great. Name is like so flat out with him, where he's like, so. He's like, did you feel awkward when I was acting this way?
I know.
And Champ was like, I did. Like that, blah, blah, blah. And he was like,
you're doing the same thing.
He was like, 2 and 2, put 2 and 2 together there.
I know.
And he's so flat out, like he doesn't even try and be subtle about it.
I love that Name had that conversation with Champ in a way that was like, hey, how did you feel when I was acting basically the way you are? Like remember back to that time. What did you want? What did you expect from me?
Right. Or what did you hope for me? Because Champ is like, more than anything, I felt sad for you. Right. Yeah. So like,
I was frustrated for you.
Yeah.
And so it was nice that he could come at it from like, oh yeah, I remember what I wanted for my friend. Now my friends want for me.
Right.
And so then when you go to that scene, I love how the full last episode is Grandpa on the wall.
Grandpa's everywhere. Grandpa follows us.
Every single scene. And so he's sitting at dinner with his parents. Again, an amazing parent moment where Champ is like, he's I
love Champ's family. I want to be adopted by Champ's family. Yes. I understand that they're fictional, but like I want to live in that fictional world.
He's come out of the other side and he's had this moment with Name, and he's really gotten to the place where he's like, okay, I think I know what I need to do. I need to tell people what I'm going through.
Well, and he overheard his dad, who was like, talking to his ancestors, so like praying to speak to his ancestors, to Grandpa, and his dad says, I wish I had spent more time with you. I wish I had taken care of you better so that we could have more time together. And he overhears that as he's coming up the stairs. And I think it just like really made him realize that like he wants that because his family means so much to him that
Right.
like him pulling away and like doing this, even though it's what he's going through, he's hurting him. He's only hurting himself in the long run
Yes.
because his dad, that's going to be him
Yeah.
in however many years, right? Like,
Yeah, and then when he cries over the pickled fish,
the blossom.
blossom,
I
one-
really want to try pickled fish
the
now.
one vocab that we've learned from
Yes,
this show.
we learned blossom from Remember Me.
That's just such a sweet moment. I was just like, everything about that moment where, and then he like joins the group chat.
Yeah, the family group chat, and his sweet sister's like, the whole family's here now. Oh, that was so sweet. And then when his mom is like, why are you crying? And he's like, it's just so good.
I know. She's like, is it too delicious?
It's so cute. Like,
It's a very
it is
cute
the
moment.
cutest, sweetest thing where he is just like, it's obvious that this boy has held in so many feelings for so long, and they're all coming up in a way he doesn't mean for them to, but it's
Right.
like they're all confused and it's just coming out all at once, and that translates to him sobbing over the blossom. Like,
I can't wait for Tidal to lead this next drama La Pluie.
La Pluie, I cannot wait to see Tidal in La Pluie because I think this character in La Pluie is a lot different. I just want to see Tidal doing all the things as the egotter that he is now.
Yes. I want all the employment for Tidal.
Yes.
He's so talented.
Okay, before we leave, shall we talk about Nan and Champu?
Yes, but here, wait, I have one more question about the mains.
Yes.
To your point, but within the context of all the families,
Okay.
what family would you want to adopt you?
Champ's family.
Champ is in.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Champ's family, without question. Who would you want to be adopted by? I mean, M's mom is pretty great. I will say that.
His mom was wonderful. I mean, I think it'd be fun to hang out with Jaw's dad. And
yes,
mom. They were
Golf's dad. I mean, the ultimate dome Jew. I'd get along with him.
He would
right?
We'd
have so many things in common.
He would be the dad that would drive you to all the events.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to go to the shows or like the fan meetings,
right.
or he'd be standing there with you.
But no, Champ's family. Champ's dad is the cutest man I have ever seen in my whole life. Yeah, I'm pretty obsessed with Champ's dad. Yeah.
They were great. Yeah. Every single character in this show was great.
One other thing before we move on to Shampoo and Nan. Okay.
Do we have to?
We'll give them like a minute.
Okay.
The styling on Tidal. Even compared to everyone else in the rest of the show, I don't know. This style, are you best friends with Tidal's Mr. and Mrs. Stylist person? Are you best friends with Tidal? Did Tidal pay you? I don't know how, but Tidal got the best styling in this whole show.
But also, you say this a lot, that a boy is cute.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how they're styled, how their hair is. If you think they're cute in the most hideous of looks,
yes,
it works.
If a boy is here's what I normally say is, if a boy is only cute because of his hairstyle, he's not actually cute.
Yes.
So you like the hair, not the boy.
Tidal, yes, did get the best styling, but also Tidal just be cute.
But the styling, truly, you gotta admit, the styling overall,
especially towards
exquisite.
Yeah, especially towards the end, these outfits, these like cool color blocking.
Truly, Tidal got the best styling in this whole show. He didn't get a romantic love interest.
Didn't matter.
But he got good styling.
I could just watch Tidal stand in a room and like monologue.
Yeah, we were talking about when the family was eating at the end. We're like, I could just watch this. Like, this could be the whole show when they're just eating dinner.
Oh, that was good.
Okay, Nan and Champu. One of the biggest curveballs in any show I've ever seen is that Shampoo is the villain. Like, Shampoo is the asshole. Because truly, when at first we thought that Nan was being catfished.
Yes.
And I low-key was hoping he was being catfished. Right. Like, honestly, I was kind of wanting that
justice
for him.
For the BL community.
Yeah, justice. And then when it turns out he wasn't being catfished, when it turns out that she's differently abled, I was like, oh, he's going to be a dick about this. Like, I just felt it in my heart. I was like, oh, he's going to be the villain. He's going to have, this is his villain origin story, right?
And then he wasn't.
And then Shampoo was the villain. Yeah. I was like the biggest curveball I've ever been thrown in my whole life is that this truly, I feel like, is the storyline of like, please love him.
My favorite was that she physically ran away from him.
Like,
Ugh.
get out of here.
I
Now,
do
her
appreciate-
reasoning was ridiculous. She's like, you can't love me. I'm differently like, and he's like, no, I will do anything. I don't like that doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm trying to prove to you that this doesn't matter to me.
I
Yeah.
do love the dynamic. I do love the dynamic that he's having to convince her to love him.
No, she loves him. I think the dynamic there is that like she thinks he shouldn't love her. Like she
Yeah.
thinks he should go have like a bigger,
Which
better,
is so
whatever
relatable
life.
for I think anyone in any type of situation, that we all have our insecurities. We all have our thing that we're like, why does this person like me?
I think everyone wants to be loved though the way that Nan loves shampoo, because he
goes through
literally tracks down the blackberries she's sold and like goes on like a Sherlock Holmes expedition to figure out where she is, like
It's true.
for multiple days. Like,
and then the brother,
tell me one person who wouldn't want someone going through that for them, like who doesn't love them so much that they like tromp through like different towns in Thailand to find them, right? Like,
and then the brother is the permanent chaperon from then on out.
Yes.
He's like, I have to make sure your intentions are pure.
I love when they got there and when they went back to Nan's hometown, right?
Yeah.
And we're with Nan's dad. And he's like, okay, let's talk about the engagement. I was like, oh, okay.
I know. And then at the end, when Nan is like, my future wife, and they're like, you're not even engaged.
He's like, we're engaged to be engaged.
Like, calm down. Yeah.
I will say Nan was very cute. And like, God, Mean has a stupid little cute face and it really annoys me.
Do you think we'll ever get Mean Plan again? I mean, we still get Mean Plan sometimes, like
kind of
ship work.
No, I mean, this is why if you don't know the history, you can look it up, whatever. But like Mean has said, he will never do a BL storyline again. Like
Unless
he will never
money.
act in a BL storyline again unless he needs money, which is just as problematic as it sounds.
But yeah, the irony.
Yet he has financed and produced and directed and been behind 2 BLs.
Yeah,
so like that's what's confusing about it, is that like I have to wonder, like, is it because he felt overwhelmed by like the fan culture around like being in a ship? Like, why would he say that? Like, that's my question, is also, like, why is this your outlook? And
he was just a young person. Like
he was a young person.
People
like,
say stupid things.
It doesn't really make sense to me that he was like, I'll never do a BL again unless I need money. And then like now he has been a part of, because the yearbook he was a part of.
He directed that one.
Yeah. So clearly he doesn't actually, like, he created art that is BL. And so like, I just have to wonder, like, did he say that? And because like himself being in a ship was too much. He also was in Until We Meet Again, right? Like he was in like one of the most iconic BLs of our time.
And he was the lead in Love by Chance too.
And so like, I really have to, like, I don't know. There's no way to know unless somebody asks him. Also, but yes, that particular statement was just as problematic as it sounds.
Also, I think the culture around BL has changed so significantly in the last couple of years that when BL first started, yes, I think for most of these boys, it was a way to make a lot of money really quickly and for you to become as famous as quickly as possible. And now we have seen a great culture shift and a culture change where yes, that's still true, but also there's importance to these roles and these stories, and you can make a show like Remember Me and like The Yearbook, and people will be invested and people will watch these shows, and they're not 2 boys banging on screen for the enjoyment of, you know,
right. There's people. More to it. Yeah. So before we wrap up, that's Nan and Shampoo. I think like a love story for the ages. Weirdly, who would have thought? The big question, is it a BL?
I mean, there were boys in love in this show, but yeah, overall, I would say it's a coming of age show.
I would say, and so this has been my personal position. I don't think there's one definition of BL.
No, it is what
but
you make
my
it.
Personal definition of BL is that all queer media is BL, but not all BL is queer media, right? Mm-hmm. Like if there are 2 boys in love, that's BL, right? It's literally in the name,
right?
But not all BLs are queer media. I think that there's more to queer media, like, and this is my personal opinion,
right?
And so I think that this one is both. I think it's a BL because I think if there's two boys in love, that's a BL. And we've got two sets of two boys in love.
Right.
And then Champ at the end, we see a little
yes.
boy love there.
Yes, yes, yes.
So like we've got three boys
They're
that
all
love
gay.
boys.
Yes.
So many boys love the boys. Everyone's gay except
the parents.
Nan.
Oh, yes. Oh,
yes. Everyone's gay except Nan, right? And so, or bi, right? But like they love a boy.
Right.
There is a boy loving a boy across it all.
Right.
And so for me, it is a BL. It's in the definition.
Right.
Boys love. I think that this one in particular is also queer media.
Yeah, I would agree. The show is so good.
But I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks. Because so like, is it a BL question? I think is fascinating.
Also, tell us who you would want to be adopted by.
Yes.
Go watch Remember Me. It was an incredible show.
Yes. And congratulations first for graduating.
Yay. This has been Let's Talk BL. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow all things Let's Talk BL at Let's Talk BL.